Hey, what's up? Welcome to Upfluent TV. I'm Tauren.
And I'm Joseph Aaron, and today let's talk about the fault in our stars.
Okay, so Joe, there's really only one question that matters.
Okay?
Did you, as a grown man, cry watching this movie?
I would never admit to that lie.
This movie was so sad. Oh my gosh.
My wife doesn't watch sad movies. She only, if she knows the end is sad, she won't watch it. And but I there was no way I was watching that movie alone, so I made her sit and watch it with me. 'Cause I don't want my man card taken.
Oh man, I think this is crazy. It seems like it's really speaking to student culture right now.
Absolutely. You know, I love this movie because it's messy. It's real. It really deals with the brokenness that students are facing today. One of my favorite lines, I think, that encapsulates the whole movie, so to speak, is, and I quote, "The thing about pain is it demands to be felt." And part of the reason that I'm certain this whole series that John Green is doing, but especially The Fault in Our Stars, is and her pain, even though the vast majority of students today aren't dealing with cancer. When you really get real with people and have a conversation like we're able to do with the 99 and our nonprofit student movement that we do, so many students are facing pain on so many levels. It may be the pain of rejection, the pain of not being accepted to the right group. I'm shocked always by are abused by their parents, the number who have been sexually abused and molested. Pain is just rampant and it's everywhere. And Hazel and Augustus really helped to tell the story of pain, bring it out, and talk about the struggles that we all have and the questions we have as a result of the brokenness we see in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the amazing takeaways just right there is we can't ignore the pain. Pushing it down and suppressing it is not the answer. Talking about it, getting it out there. One of the quotes that Augustus says, or whatever, with his pack of cigarettes, he says, "You put the killing thing in your teeth, but you never give it the power to do its killing." And I so deep, he thinks he's the man because he's a teenager and he's coming up with this stuff. We know that's not true. But he says this, and I think the takeaway, some things cause pain that we can't control, but there are other things that we can control. And what things are within our ability to control are we giving the power to destroy our lives? I think that's the question that I have to ask myself, that a student has to ask yourself. What things are you giving the power to control your life? A question one of my mentors always asked me was, who do you control? And there are some things outside of our realm that we're not going to be able to fix the pieces, but we have to really take hold of the things that we can and do the best we can with what we've got.
So good. And we're going to go rapid shotgun kind of back and forth here because there's just so much content. Great stuff. Another thing that grabbed me in the story was really both Hazel and Augustus trying to come to terms with their identity, like who they are. And for Augustus, a theme throughout the movie is oblivion. You know, the idea that he could die and the world won't remember him. And it's so important to him that the crowd remembers who he is. And it made me ask the question, why do we find value in the applause of the crowd?
Mm.
Or why is it so important to us to find our legacy in history, even at that young age? Of course, the older you get, the more you think about it. But even at that young age, it was important to him that he reached to touch the lives of tomorrow. But just like us, sometimes in reaching for those who we want to impact tomorrow through history or the crowd or our fame, we reach right past those who we've been called to serve today. And in the name of the crowd's applause, which, as you know, Torrin, is fickle, how many times do we reach to receive their attention? Were loyal to us when the crowd booed. And that was kind of my thought on that. So my question, you deal with that all the time. You're in front of 20,000 people at a time sometimes. How do you measure the value and worth and all that stuff of the crowd versus the people closest to you?
Well, I think pulling affirmation from the right place is the most important idea that we can kind of wrap our minds around, because crowds are ever changing. It's one minute they will love you, the next minute they will despise you. And I feel like a lot of pressure going out on stage a lot of nights, because I feel like part of my job is to get people to like me, and it's all performance based. If I do these things, and people will like me instead of being loved and appreciated for who I am. And the problem with these big stages a lot of times, and this works in parallel with real life, is that we don't get to show people who we are. Unfortunately, we only show them what we do. And so we never feel like we're truly loved. That's why pulling affirmation from the right friends, from the right group of people, from supportive parents, wherever that's coming from, that it's correct. Like, that's where we need to pull our affirmation from. Hugh MacLeod said, "You can't love a crowd the same way you love a person, and a crowd can't love you the way a single person can." So I think those one-on-one relationships are so important, and investing in people, so important. One of the crazy
Yeah, and well, I was just gonna jump in on that and say, the average student difference. They see you on stage, they see your life, and they think, I want that. If I could just have that value, when the reality is you're on that stage. And yes, you love your fans, and you love what you do, and you love to get to share your message, but the deeper value is often not in the fickle affections of the crowd, once again, but it's in those people who are in your life and really know you, not stage you, but Tauren. And I think Hazel grabbed that. She said, we all want to be remembered. She didn't want that more than most.
Yeah, so good. One of the scenes that stands out, Hazel walks into this meeting with all of these doctors, and she's wanting to go overseas to meet an author that she loves so much. And the professionals tell her, and they get into this heated discussion, and they tell her, "Hazel, you're too sick. You can't go. You can't do what you dreamed. You're too sick." And they're having a conversation, Augustus and Hazel, these main characters, and Augustus asks Hazel, what's your story? And she starts telling about, well, when I was a kid, they found this disease, blah, blah, blah. And she goes in and tells this whole story through the lens of her sickness. And then he says, yeah, I got that, but what's your real story? What about before you were sick? What about who you are? And I think so many of us, it's so easy to be defined by our brokenness, and then to have limitations set on us by other people because they say you're too broken, you're too sick. How many of you have had your dreams crushed because you're too sick? You're not smart enough. You're not pretty enough. You don't come from the right family. You're not this or that. Culture says that you're too sick, you're too broken to change the world, but I would tell you that you can. Your brokenness can actually become your platform of influence. And just as an example, many nights out on the road with Royal Taylor, I get to share about the fact that all of us in Royal Taylor come from broken homes. Bass player's dad passed away when he was really little. We've all had these voices, this negative thing in our lives and negative circumstances. but we get to share that story with people. We're not afraid to share that story with people. And we've had so many. Just last weekend, I had a guy come up to me and say, my parents divorced when I was young. It threw off the whole trajectory of my life. But hearing your story and seeing what you guys are doing has inspired me to live beyond my brokenness. And we can all do that. We just can't be afraid. You have to ignore the fear that you won't be accepted by the crowd on account of your brokenness, because your greatest potential is on the other side of your fear.
Thank you for being a part today. You have been Upfluence. Please subscribe, share with your friends, comment below. Looking forward to talking more next week.